BTMreview.com here with episode 22 of the Retro Rampage podcast. I'm Aaron with Zach. What's up?
Nothing much.
What do you mean nothing much? There's a lot up. Some dude found a supposed prototype for the never came to life failed partnership between Sony and Nintendo.
Yep.
Before Sony backed out or Nintendo backed out. I don't know. I mean, it depends on who you ask, but I guess the story is that Nintendo backed out to do the thing with Philips, which turned into the CDI. Barf.
Yeah.
But anyway, supposedly a guy that knew a guy that worked for somebody in Nintendo came across a system, and it was just in a bunch of junk or whatever. It's one of those things, you know, handed down from a friend of a friend of a friend. And the pictures are going around. I don't know if Nintendo has commented on the legitimacy or not.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they have or not. But, I mean, this guy came out and, you know, it's been on Kotaku and it's been on Polygon. And so there's some skeptics out there, of course, but there's a lot of people that think it's very real.
Yeah. Do you think we should go through, like, the idea of it? Or do enough people even know that the PlayStation...
I don't think it's mainstream knowledge. So, or maybe for, like, newbies out there that are just kind of, like, learning about it. But, yeah, basically... It's known as Nintendo's biggest career mistake ever.
Yeah. Because
they had secured a partnership with Sony to build a disc-based add-on to the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. You think that was around the time the Sega CD came out? Like, was it trying to compete, or was it before that?
Well, let me see, the PlayStation came out in 94, right?
Yeah.
And the Sega CD was around 93, 94. It was probably the same type of deal. I mean, Nintendo very well. That might have been back in their days where Nintendo was actually competitive and not just doing their own thing, because they actually had a rival. You know? Yeah. So you might be onto something there. And then who knows, man? Maybe they saw, wait, people don't like this Sega CD. Let's back up. We have nothing to compete with. But then anyway, they pulled the rug underneath the whole thing. I don't know the ethics behind the business deal that went down, if it was shitty or what happened, but they ended up going with Philips, and they made the worst thing imaginable. Man.
Yeah, I actually heard some people say that it was that Nintendo just kind of pulled out of it for whatever reason.
Yeah, but you know, I guess PlayStation already had a lot of the blueprint work done.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, Nintendo created a monster.
Yeah.
You know, Sony wasn't in the game business. For all we know, they didn't even think about entering the game business before Nintendo proposed this idea.
Yep.
It very well could have been a monster wholly created by Nintendo. So they backed out. They had a bad blood business deal in that sense. They take the work that they had put in and they decide, hey, we're going to go through with this and release it as our own console, which became the Sony PlayStation. And it fucked Nintendo good because we all know what happened. I mean, they got disc-based. You know, Nintendo stayed with cartridges with N64, and they even had their failed add-on, the DD, the disc drive, N64 DD.
I don't even remember that.
It was supposed to come out in the stateside, and it never did. It got scrapped.
Oh, okay.
But it did come out in Japan, I do believe, but it only had like 6 titles. And it was an add-on. Can you believe they were still doing add-ons in that add-ons kind of died with 16-bit, but man, they still were trying to do one for the N64. And Ocarina of Time was being developed on the 64 DD at first.
Yeah.
I still have an issue of GamePro magazine before Ocarina of Time came out where they were talking about the new Zelda on the 64 DD, and they have screenshots of the Zelda. And it looks like sort of a not quite finished Ocarina of Time. You know, some things were different. Some of the layout looked different. But it was really, really interesting, man. So what could have been, you know? But basically that's what happened. Nintendo created a monster, and they've been suffering for it ever since. So
we all know what happened, what actually came out of the Philips CD.
It was an educational system.
Yeah, was it called the CDI?
The CDI, the Philips CDI. Okay. I actually had a friend who had it, and he tried to sell me on it that it was better than the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. Like, why? Because it's got CDs? That makes it better? What else makes it better? The fact that you control every game with a remote control, like a TV remote. It's just, I used to play Clue with him on it. It was all this full motion video stuff. You know, every time you guessed the wrong killer, Mr. Body, the butler, would be polishing some silver, and he'd be like, good try, but you'll have to try again. Like, you know, whatever. It's just stupid. We've all heard about them licensing out their characters. The Zelda games, the Wand of Gamelon, Faces of Evil. There's those shitty games, and the Mario Hotel. God, that game is
gosh,
horrible stuff, man. But yeah, and I think it was the CDI was going to get the official sequel to Super Mario World.
Oh yeah, there was like levels made and everything.
Yeah, and that prototype is online. You can find it. And they're unfinished. They're unfinished, and they use the graphical engines, but of course Nintendo wasn't making it, so the level design looks like shit, and everything about it looks like shit. And the game isn't finished, so there's like a lot of places in the game world just like freeze and break up. You know, so it's just there to basically just check out. I mean,
I wonder. I was thinking about this earlier too. I wonder if that really like pissed Sony off, and I wonder if they like never really let it go, because if you think about it, like I remember like when the PlayStation 3 was coming out, they had that E3 where they showed the controller, and it was that boomerang controller that everybody hated.
Everybody hated it. I remember that.
And then it seems like the next year is when the Wii got announced, and it was like, oh, there's motion controls in it. And I swear, like it was like the next E3, Sony was like, hey, our controller has motion controls in it too. You remember that?
Yeah, I think it's just keeping up with the Joneses, though.
Yeah, and well, now with the PlayStation 4, the Wii U has the touchscreen, and the PlayStation 4 controller has a touchscreen.
Does any game actually utilize that thing?
No.
I mean, I remember, they announced that and stuff like that, but nothing uses. I mean, it's totally stupid. Like, we're just gonna put this here just in case this whole Wii U thing takes off.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's so stupid, man. I think at the end of the day, they still have to keep up with the Joneses' good business practice. They're still, whether it's personal or not. I mean, think about it. The person in charge of Nintendo back then is not the guy in charge of Nintendo now.
Yeah,
I think it's all business. I think it's just all it is. But yeah. Anyway, that was their demise. And anyway, someone came across this prototype, and it's kind of ugly.
Yeah, it's weird looking.
I don't think it's attractive looking.
It's weird seeing that controller.
And it's funny how, like, the bottom half of it, the part that's the disk drive, it's turning yellow. Like, it looks like whatever they made looks like they made the bottom half of the system out of the first wave Super Nintendos.
Yeah.
With the shit that turns yellow over time, and they made the top out of the second wave. It doesn't. It's so weird looking.
Yeah.
And it's funny to see. I mean, I guess it could be fake, but it's funny to see the controller.
Yeah.
With the Sony brand on there too. Man, and the logo where it's got the Nintendo, the 4 little ovals, the control, and then the Sony. That's nuts, man. It's a trip.
It says there was 200 prototypes, and they were ordered to be destroyed. It says this guy swiped one and kept it, I guess.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to know, because if they were developing a system, I wonder if they had ideas for games, what they were going to develop.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if they would have ever started working on any of them, but it'd be kind of cool to know if they did, or at least did some concept art or had some ideas, or at least just throwing some names around of titles they wanted to do. It would have been interesting. Can you imagine like a Super Nintendo follow-up to Link to the Past with cutscenes, anime cutscenes and stuff like that, or like voice acting? It probably would have looked a lot like Game Boy Advance. Like kind of a really nice 16-bit game with voice acting and CD quality sound. Who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe it would have, like I said, and they got double burned by Sony, because Sony took a lot of their big IPs, man. They took Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
They took all Metal Gear, because they were the king supreme, man. That you wanted to be on the Nintendo system back in the day, and Sega was their only competition. But Metal Gear was on the NES. They're a PlayStation staple. Final Fantasy was always NES and Super NES, and now they're pretty much, minus spin-offs. They're a PlayStation thing. So whatever, man. They're still hurting from that. In other news, you informed me of a politician made famous for attacking violence in video games, and him just now pleading guilty to gun running and extortion. How is this new in the world of politics? We've seen it lately in the gay marriage thing. The people that are, fighting against certain demographics of people, are the same people getting caught in bathroom stalls tapping the foots of dudes or having mistresses or something. This is politics. So what's the deal with this guy, Zach?
Yeah, it looks like he's accepting bribes, extorting money. He once offered to smuggle weapons from the Philippines for undercover FBI agents who he believed were connected to the New Jersey mob.
Goodness gracious.
And I mean, it shows a picture of him, and he's holding up a copy of Grand Theft Auto 4, and it's just like, this is the kind of stuff that goes on in those games. He's holding it up to kind of say like, oh yeah, make sure your kids aren't playing these kind of games.
Are you saying he's beating up hookers on the weekends and stealing cars?
Probably.
I mean, the thing is the bottom line is like, don't let your kids play these games because they'll kind of turn out crooked like me. I don't understand. This is like the equivalent of like Tipper Gore being into bondage and torture porn.
Probably.
You know, the whole PMRC thing.
Yeah.
It's totally hypocritical, man. So, well, sounds like he's going to be somewhere getting egg rolls fed to his asshole every night for the next 10 years. You know, I don't know. I'm sorry, that was kind of racist. But I don't know, man. I just think it's ridiculous, man. I mean, this is an age-old discussion that, you know, it should be a pretty tired subject by now, but violence in gaming, is it responsible for the violence in culture? No, I think people are responsible for doing bad things, and parents are responsible for not noticing things. Now, are there some kids that maybe have a screw loose that need a little extra attention, that might be a little bit more impressionable because of certain things that are going on or lack thereof in their home life? They're going to be a little bit more impressionable to certain games or movies. Like, I mean, once again, that goes back to their state of mind and where they're at. But, I mean, it comes down to the person, the parenting, and just all that stuff, you know, and everybody has to blame something. This politician has to blame something. Maybe it was like an act of self-loathing. You know, it's that guy that hates fags, quote unquote fags, but he himself is gay. You know what I'm saying? It's that type of guy. It's that pastor that hates, you know, fags, but he's sitting there doing this stuff on the weekends. This guy, it's the same deal, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think about it? I mean, none of it's new. What do you guys think about the Nintendo PlayStation hybrid? That's pretty neat. That's about the extent of it. It's neat. I mean, nothing's going to come from it. I'm not sure if we're ever going to get an official. We probably won't get an official word from Nintendo about it because it's just one that popped up. If another one pops up and they can somehow match certain serial numbers, stuff like that, I think that's when they'd have to like, okay, yeah, that's real. As far as the politician, man, I just think it's nothing new. It's just a bunch of jokers, man, that are hypocrites and, you know, twisting society to their liking to get in office. So, I don't know. Let us know what you think. Hit up btmreview.com, the YouTube channel, Twitter, Facebook, and Tumblr for all you kiddos out there that like to blog. And let us know what you think. You know, most of you, if you guys are on Tumblr, chances are you weren't even old enough to remember this whole, like, Super Nintendo, PlayStation, Sony debacle. We actually probably just schooled you on the matter. If you don't have a Tumblr, we might just be retreading the same old grounds. But, and yeah, let us know. I mean, you don't really have to even let us know about the politician. Just probably go on these forums that we have and just pretty much say, yes, this guy's a douchebag, this guy's a scumbag, this guy's what's wrong with society. So, I mean, whatever. I expect you guys to fully agree on that. But, I don't know. Anything else to add, Zach?
Me neither.
Nothing. That wasn't the answer. That wasn't an answer to a question. That was weird. I was like, anything else to add, Zach? Me neither. I think Zach's on autopilot. Are you a robot? Are you like the chick? Are you the chick on Total Recall?
I thought you said so.
Any fruits or vegetables in your carry-on, ma'am? 2 weeks. Excuse me. 2 weeks. But anyway, check us out there and make sure to tune in next week. I've been Aaron, and this is Zach. Later.